Jai Shri Krishna to all. Welcome to Path to Anandam Gita series. Freedom from pains and miseries to happy, healthy and peaceful life. Based on Srimad Bhagavad Gita and 108 mantras to awaken your soul. And today's subject is see God in all. And pranam to Hariharji Maharaj. Thank you very much for bringing us together this morning with your blessings. I'm Satya Kalra, founder of Path to Anandam and your host. With 15 best-selling books on Amazon, and very first book was My Question and God's Answers, which is being used in University of Berkeley and many other universities in undergraduate program in course of ethics. And with blessing of Swamiji and Lord Krishna, the Gita's message has been broadcast and being broadcast on Zoom and on many different channels. And universities with one-to-one based counselings and many institutions. Today's subject is very interesting. How to see God in all, which is based on Gita's verse, chapter 630, Dhyan Yoga. And I will be speaking and we will be discussing how to see God in all. And what are the benefits of doing it? How to practice it? And what should be our sankalpa? And it's very simple today. I see God in all with meditation and question and answer series. So let's start with our prayers. As Arjuna did before Lord Krishna start giving him the wisdom, the timeless wisdom of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Because he was in difficult situations. He was facing many challenges in his life. He needed guidance. And so are we in need of guidance. Because we are the Arjunas of today, facing the difficulties, challenges all the time and are confused. Should we do this? Should we not do this? So he prayed to Lord Krishna very humbly. So let's all pray together. Karpanye dosho pahat svabhava paschyami tvam dharma sammood cheta yachse syani nishchitam bruhitan me shishyaseham shadimam tvam prapanyam shishyaseham shadimam tvam prapanyam. My heart is overpowered by the weakness of pity. I have lost all my composure and my mind is confused about my duty, my dharma. I don't know what to do and what not to do. Therefore, I'm requesting you to tell me what is definitely good for me, because I am your disciple. I surrender to you. So here Arjun becomes a disciple, from friend to turn as a disciple. And Lord Krishna became the guide for him, advisor, guru. And he guides him. So when Arjuna was confused, in Vishad, upset, worried, and said, Na jotasyati Govindam, I will not fight the battle of life. And Lord Krishna, being so merciful, he blessed him with prasad of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and guided him. And Arjuna listened to him. He followed his advice. And then he said, okay, now I will do as you advise. Because through the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, his doubts were dispelled. His emotions were under his control. His heart was purified and he was transformed. And he uplifted himself. So let's all go together on this blissful journey and lift ourselves as well. So Lord Krishna initially started him with teaching him that he is Atma, he is not a body. And it was beyond Arjuna's comprehension. Because he was Kshatriya, he never heard about this concept before. So Lord Krishna changed his gear and guided him, taught him a new lesson in life about Karma Yoga, because he was Kshatriya. So Lord Krishna says, why not I teach him based on what he would understand? So he guided him, he told him how to do your action, karma, which becomes your dharma, which is beyond your ego, attachment. So he gives him the knowledge of Karma Yoga, which is a Gyan Karma Sannyas Yoga, how to do your action with wisdom and with renunciation, means do your action without expecting the results. How to do that? Arjuna is still confused because he said, my mind is filled with all these things. My heart is pounding. How could I understand all these things? Then Lord Krishna gives him a new technique, Dhyana Yoga, where he can focus his mind. He goes beyond his emotions. And with focusing on his dharma, he takes him now different level, because Arjuna is still confused. He still does not understand how to handle this. So Lord Krishna gracefully takes one layer of his ignorance, one by one, and take him to the ultimate understanding who he is. He's nothing but a love, peace, Anandam, Satchit Ananda. But it takes him to the process of Karma Yoga and now Dhyana Yoga. And of course, with love and compassion and wisdom. So today's verse is Lord Krishna explains to Arjuna about the benefits of doubts, which we spoke previously. And another benefit here comes. He says, with doing your practice of dhyana, meditation, you will start seeing the divinity all around you. You will start seeing the God all around you. And he says, Yo mam pashyati sarvatra, sarvam cha mai pashyati, tasyam na prashyami, sach me na prashyati. Those who see me everywhere and see everyone in me, it means see God in all, are not out of my sight, and I'm not out of their sight. It means we are together. So when I initially read this verse, and my first question was, is it possible to see God everywhere, in everyone, especially when other people hurt us, betrayed us, give us difficult time? Then we cannot see God in them. We don't see Bhagwan in them because we just see them as a shaitan, as a devil who is hurting me. So how to see God in everything and in every place, like in everything or every situation, and especially in tough times, which we all of us face in that time. The wars, the natural disasters, the families, the many difficulties, sometimes faces the loss of loved ones. So how to see God also in our life when the different situation we face, the different challenges? And how can we get that God's divine vision to see God? Because our mind is so much overtaken, our heart is overtaken by the emotions. So how to see God everywhere? But Lord Krishna said this verse. So I was contemplating and I said, well, when he said this, he must have a good reason. Arjuna is going through that, all that. He's just seeing his family members, his loved ones, arrayed in the battlefield. How could he see God in them, especially they are on the opposite side? But he's overtaken by the emotions of attachment, mamta. And Lord Krishna takes him little by little and tells him that I understand you cannot do the karma yoga when your mind is disturbed. So let me take you to the another benefit of divine Shakti, divine power. So he tells him that when other people hurt you, criticized you, betrayed you, then what do you need to do? He says, you start seeing God in them and goodness in them, because there might be something good in them. God has not created anybody, wasted his time on anybody without having goodness in them. But when we are emotionally disturbed, hurt, we cannot see that goodness in them. So he says, try to do that. Learn to do that. And how you will do it? We spoke about this morning also. Sarvasya chaham hridayi sanne vishtu. Matta smritir gyan mapohanam cha. Whatever you have been hurt, just forget about that. Forgive others, because God is situated in everybody's heart. So by doing this, you will be seeing the goodness in them. So sometimes, when I practice it, I just write down all the good things in people, what they have. Of course, I cannot do it in the beginning. So I write down all the things which are bothering me, disturbing me about that situation or about this person especially. I write down all those, so I get the negativity on the paper. Then I calm down and start seeing some goodness, because there has to be some goodness in that person. So then I start looking at it and then start contemplating it, because Lord Krishna says, I am situated in everybody's heart. So start looking that godliness in them and forgetting what has happened to me during this time with a heart. Mapoham, Lord Krishna says, by you focusing on me in your heart, I will help you to forget your hurt and guide you to forgive and let go. So by doing it, we start seeing the goodness in others. But what happens when we are in real difficult time? Loss of loved ones, going through natural disasters, sometimes tornadoes, sometimes tsunamis, sometimes so much turmoil, especially in this winter, so many storms, wars. Then how to see goodness in that situation? And Lord Krishna again says, and Guruji especially used to say, this is all Prabhu's Leela. Hari kare so khari. So don't worry. Just pray, 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 and you will get through it. Then how can we see God? How can we get the God's vision in our life? How can we feel that God is with us in difficult times? In good times, we can all see the goodness in people. But when we are in difficult time, difficult situations, sometimes I know many people, they get so upset and they just, I remember one of my friends lost her son, 18-year-old boy. And she was in charge of the temple. She was doing so much seva. She stopped going to the temple and she took all the pictures, images around her home and closed her temple. And she says, because she was so upset, she was so angry with God. So certain situations do come which are very difficult to handle, and it happened. So how can we get the vision of God during that time? The prayer is the only answer. And also start doing seva. Go back to seva. Or the person who has left, pray for that departing soul for peace and continue with their projects, what they are conducting or they were conducting before, to carry on the work they have left behind. And little by little, you will start connecting and getting out of it. I wouldn't say you will forget, because these things you never forget. They give you the wounds rest of your life. But healing do happen when we start praying, going through seva, and then go to meditation. Then we start feeling his presence. And how would we know God is in our life? We have to reflect, like we are breathing this coming breath in our body and going out through our nostrils. That is the biggest proof of divine Shakti, godliness in our body. We are moving our hands, speaking, talking, walking. This is all the power of that energy. That itself is the proof of blessing of God. So then it comes how to see God everywhere. And I think for that one, there is a beautiful chapter in Bhagavad Gita, Vibhuti Yoga, where Lord Krishna explains where you can find God even in water, in air, in singing of birds, in every sound, within yourself, even in the flowers, in the birds. So he explains so well. That's a beautiful chapter when we get there. But when you see the beauty around you, all the greenery around you, the blossom of the flower, now the spring season is, and the flowers start blossoming. This is the proof of his presence. Going from seed all the way to the flowers and the fruits. This is all Prabhu's Leela. So start seeing, but in summary, when we start seeing the goodness, here you see G-O-O-D, good. And then double O, mushed together. It becomes one O when we start seeing the goodness. It becomes one big O. And that becomes God, godliness. So by practicing goodness in our life, which is also in Bhagavad Gita says, sattvic life like selflessness, not hurting others, doing work with love and compassion, with wisdom, in other words, doing your karma yoga, then you are living in a goodness. And then you will experience godliness. So we have to be mindful of supreme power. Like when we are breathing, this is a blessing of him. When I'm seeing, this is his blessing. When I'm hearing, this is all his blessing of the divine power. So mindfulness of kan kan mein or chan chan mein, God is around us. And by doing that, we will purify our heart, our mind, and we will transform ourselves, and we will start seeing God in everywhere. Our eyes will be enriched with his presence, seeing him all around us. And by doing that, we will experience that everyone is God. I am God, and so is everyone else. So that becomes a self-realization, God realization. But we have to practice it. And by practicing, we get the benefit. So as I said, the mindfulness, kan kan mein, chan chan mein, and how we do the mindfulness is starting our day with good practices, with mantras, reading scripture, Bhagavad Gita, Guru Granth Sahib, Ramayana, whatever suits you, your system. And then read one message per day, whatever the message we want to practice. And then we practice yoga, pranayam, meditation. And again in the evening, we continue to practice. So basically, we are enriching our mindfulness, focusing on supreme power. And while doing it every day, this is our daily schedule, daily planner. Whatever habit we want to change, whatever new habit we want to develop, this planner helps us tremendously. And during this process, what happens? See, this is the representation of the mind. Has so much, I would say, like based on our sanskaras, we have so much collected in our mind, and we cannot see through properly because we get so confused. This is a cause of our confusion because there is so much filled, I would say, unnecessary, or you can get garbage, or whatever we want to name it, doesn't matter. But basically, this is the darkness in our mind, which bring the darkness in our body, in our heart. But by practicing it, what happens? All the dirt, not only settles at the bottom, it dissolves. And in our body, it detoxicates us. But we need to do the practices as karma yoga, as I mentioned before, neki kar kuein mein dal, through meditation. And then our nervous system, our neurons, pathway changes, and we are transformed. And by transforming, we start seeing God everywhere. Here we put the God here in our heart and mind, but here you can see all the time, wherever we see, whether we see it in the form of beauty, in form of Agni Dev, in the form of Varun Dev, whatever we see, all around we see nothing but divinity. So again, in summary, goodness to godliness. And then we are purified like this glass. We are transformed. We are so cleansed. And then we can clearly see that I am no different than God. And we experience ultimate happiness, peace, Anandam, which is the purpose of our life. So again, this is the time of homework. Be aware and ask yourself. Swadhyaya Abhyasnam, practice, practice, practice. As I said, Gita is all wisdom, timeless wisdom, Guru's Gyan, infinite wisdom. But unless we practice it, and so how do we should ask this question to ourselves. Do I see God in others? Do I see God in everything? Beauty? Do I just see the beautiful things around me, or I always complain and I always say this weather is bad, or we see the beautiful rain coming down, giving us the beginning of the spring? Or do I see God in tough times? Because all situations have some good reasons. And we can all relate to that. And I have given a beautiful stories before, and you can relate to that. But I think it's better that you relate to your own situation. When at one time I was going to airport, and all of a sudden I was driving myself and my tire gave up. And I missed the flight. And not only missed the flight, I missed several meetings over there. And I was not very happy about it. But then, since being the student of Bhagavad Gita, I immediately, the thought came, there must be something good happen. And believe it or not, I heard after a couple of hours that the plane was crashed. And I was going to Canada, and many passengers went down with that crash, and I was saved. So there are some situations which we cannot see the goodness, but this is a very extreme examples, but even a small examples, if you see it, we can all relate to it. So the question is, do I see God everywhere? Do I see God in my life? Do I experience him? Do I see him in Kan Kan and Chan Chan mein? We should inquire about this. By inquiring, we will uplift ourselves. We will do the self-improvement, and day by day, we will improving. So our sankalpa for today is, I see God in all. And when I see God in all, I put the seed here. Just by practicing little by little, by mindfulness, then little by little, that thought goes higher, and it germinates, then gives up flowers, gives up fruits. And finally, we can experience the presence of God. But our Sankalp Prabhavan, we had the last session, Sankalp Prabhavan, kamasya taktva. We, with all the desires, worldly desires, to have the sankalpa of reaching to the higher self, uplifting our the conscious level. And then little by little, like this seed growing to the fruits, we will ultimately germinate to the level where we can see the God everywhere. But we have to have a patience for that. Here are some examples. And the reason I took these examples is because there is a beautiful bhajan here, that how others have seen godliness in situations and in others. So here is Namdev ji. I just put his image here. Here is Mirabai. Here is Surdas. They all saw God in a different forms. Like Namdev ji saw in dog. Mirabai saw in snake. And in poison, she saw Lord Krishna in her poison. So her poison became Amrit. Surdas ji always saw God, even though he was blind, but his eyes were enriched with golden light and the darshan of Lord Krishna all the time. And at one time, when Lord Krishna actually gave him the darshan, and then he asked him to make me blind again. And the people asked him why. And he says, I don't want to see this world with these golden eyes now where I see Lord Krishna all the time. So in other words, everywhere he was seeing Lord Krishna, even in every situation. And then we all know Guru Nanak ji and Kabir ji, they were on Nirakar God. Here they were the Sakar God, but here they were the Nirakar God. So with Nirakar God, they saw Kan Kan mein, Chan Chan mein, they truly saw Patte Patte mein. Every particle in the air, they just saw presence of God. So there is a beautiful bhajan over there. And I want to see if Sister Manju Sharma is there. Yeah, so I would like her to sing.
जर्रे जर्रे में है झांकी भगवान की, किसी सूझ वाली आँख ने पहचान की। जर्रे जर्रे में है झांकी भगवान की, किसी सूझ वाली आँख ने पहचान की। नामदेव ने पकाई रोटी, कुत्ते ने उठाई, पीछे घी का कटोरा लिए जा रहे। बोले रूखी तो ना खाओ, थोड़ा घी तो लगाओ, रूप अपना क्यों मुझसे छुपा रहे। तेरा मेरा एक नूर, फिर काहे को हजूर, तूने शक्ल बनाई है श्वान की, मुझे ओढ़नी ओढ़ा दी इंसान की। जर्रे जर्रे में है झांकी भगवान की, किसी सूझ वाली आँख ने पहचान की। शोभा मीरा की निराली, पी के जहर की प्याली, ऐसा गिरधर बसाया हर श्वास में। जब आया काला नाग, बोली मेरे धन भाग, आज आए प्रभु सांप के लिबास में। आओ आओ बलिहार, मेरे कृष्ण मुरार, ऐसी कृपा है कृपा निधान की। मैं एहसानी हूँ तेरे एहसान की। जर्रे जर्रे में है झांकी भगवान की। किसी सूझ वाली आंख ने पहचान की। एक भक्त सूरदास, एक भक्त सूरदास, जिनकी निगाह थी खास। ऐसा नैनों में नशा था हरि नाम का। नैन हुए जब बंद, नैन हुए जब बंद, तब पाया वो आनंद, तब पाया वो आनंद। आया नजर नजारा घन श्याम का। हर नूर में समाया, सारे जग को बनाया। आई रोशनी आंखों में जब ज्ञान की। देखी झूम झूम झांकियां भगवान की। जर्रे जर्रे में है झांकी भगवान की। किसी सूझ वाली आंख ने पहचान की। जर्रे जर्रे में है झांकी भगवान की। जय श्री कृष्ण। Thank you, Satya Bhan, for giving time. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for joining See God in All and experiencing happy, healthy, and peaceful life. Freedom from pains and miseries.